Hey everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. He is Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley, and Stuart, we've got a new ship! Episode 1, Stuart, a brand new Federation starship. So excited to talk to you about this. What sort of ship is it, Stuart?
It is, I think, a Crossfield class. As the quote goes, I think it's a Crossfield class.
That's not a new ship, that's a Discovery. I didn't see a Discovery in this episode. What's going on, Stuart?
As you guys know, the Broken Circle, this organization that's trying to start a war with the Klingons again to get their profits from dilithium mining, they built a ship, which when it left the planet was, Ortega said, it's one of our ships, and Mitchell says it's a Crossfield, I think. Crossfield's no match for a Klingon battlecruiser. The thing is, they identified it. It has a ping identifying the ship and whatever, and that's great. And since she thought it was a Crossfield class, but we've already seen a Crossfield class, the USS Glenn, the USS Discovery, and we assume the USS Crossfield somewhere. I've got a theory about this, which I'm just going to throw out there, unless you have anything to say right quick.
I'll wait for you, Stuart. Throw me some theories.
As we thought that the Crossfield class was an experimental test bed, which was designed for the spore drive and would therefore be very limited in number. Like I said, the Glenn, the Discovery, and the Crossfield. Crossfield probably didn't have a spore drive. It was probably just the space frame. And then, of course, Discovery happened and it got classified and buried. So it could be that this is a official Crossfield class that came out afterwards in the wake of that whole thing. And Starfleet upgraded it to be a more practical ship. It does have this Crossfield Discovery class elements, like the saucer with the cutout ring in it and stuff, negative space. They could have used parts from other Crossfields that they were planning to build, and then just modified it to change it a bit. Is my theory. So it is. Put it out there. There's a Crossfield class, guys. We weren't hiding that from you. This is it. See? There's no top secretness going on about this. I don't know. That's kind of my theory on it. Thoughts?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So this is a funny old one because, of course, that's them trolling us. I mean, there's a few caveats to this, right? TOS is the era of reuse, meaning the Connie saucer, let's throw 9 variants of it, and that's fine. So I appreciate the logic here of let's make a new ship based on parts we already have in the 3D asset library. We have a Crossfield saucer from Season 1, and all it is a Crossfield saucer with some pontoony things, and then Strange Worlds, Enterprise, nacelles. That is it. There's nothing else to design of any... a deflector at the top. It's a very simple design, right? It is a kit bash. It actually kind of works as a kit bash because it structurally keeps the Federation elements. Now, it looks smaller, significantly, than an average-sized starship. The way it comes out of the Earth, fighting with the Enterprise, it is smaller than the Enterprise. The Discovery is much bigger than the saucer is a bigger saucer. So it is not literally the same saucer. It can't be, it's too small. This person who's saying it, all she's really seeing is the saucer, we can assume. So that's all she's taking from it, right? And that's the only Crossfield thing in it. So maybe she's seeing, say, I recognize that saucer. That is a... It's like if you saw an Excelsior saucer with a third nacelle, you'd say, oh, that must be an Excelsior variant, right? So presumably she's seeing this and seeing that, I recognize a Crossfield from when I saw it twice in the war. It's a Crossfield, I think, but obviously it's not really. It's just the saucer. That's kind of how I took it. And it's them literally writing themselves out of want to reuse elements. And obviously the sets. I mean, the sets they're using were Discovery sets. And I guess they had a memo, we're going to call it this so we can use these sets. Cool. We know the Crossfield class, which this isn't, but the Crossfield class was so successfully classified, did not know about it in the 31st century with head of Starfleet, top security, no information, right? That was so no one can ever know about it. The whole point of that episode was to show you, no, it's never going beyond these walls. So to even have a saucer seems a bit odd. Yeah.
Okay, so thoughts on that real quick. Yes, she visually identified it and says, I think it's a Crossfield, essentially. Now, earlier in the episode, when we got to the transponder, Chapel said, I thought transponders could only broadcast a ship's name and class to other Federation vessels. That's what the transponder does. So theoretically, it should be pinging because Uhura is hearing the ping of the transponder, which Spock talks about. And there's also a little bit of a hiccup in it. That's the added message, Enterprise, destroy this ship. So it would have been broadcasting the ship's name, which we never got, and the class of the ship. That's what a transponder does. So it would have been either corrected by Uhura to say that's not a Crossfield class, it's a whatever variant, or it is literally pinging as a Crossfield class.
But given it's also their pretend ship, they could reconfigure it to be anything, right? Especially if the Crossfield class back in the war was a signifier of power.
Or they just used a Crossfield class transponder that they got a hold of somehow. I don't know how they would do that. The wreckage of the Glen, maybe?
I mean, could this be the USS Crossfield? I mean, if they hadn't have rebuilt it, because we know the Stranger Worlds colony, assuming they're telling us it looked like the Stranger Worlds colony despite looking like the Cage colony beforehand, then these nacelles are not new, they're old. Maybe the Crossfield USS was actually a ship that looked like this to test the saucer, and it wasn't a spore drive ship. They then took this design and then added this, what is in the secondary hull? The giant mycelial forest, the spore drive, and the nacelles let them when John said they're giant because of spore drive travel.
I like that, except for the fact that, again, there's no solid answers here, because when they walk in, they're like, how did they get the ship down here? I think they built it. And this is a discussion we had during our review. Basically, how did they get all the parts to build an entire Federation starship? That would take them a long time and a lot of resources. It could have been a damaged ship. It could have been one that was salvaged from maybe a mothball yard somewhere. And I like the idea of it being the original Crossfield that they basically just repurposed and fixed up. But again, you got to explain how they got it there, how they got it underground. There's a whole bunch of issues with that as well. It's just
built. It's a weird one because why not build a smaller ship? This is not it's not a giant ship. It's certainly a large ship. You're talking at potentially years to build this, and to successfully, because the idea of the plan was a Starfleet ship is attacking us, and we need a real Starfleet ship because when it's blown up, it'll read a Starfleet wreckage. So it can't be a Klingon ship with a transponder. It can't be a Starfleet ship made of Klingon parts. It's got to be a Starfleet ship made of Starfleet parts. So it's got to be fully Starfleet built. And they were so precise, they even built a med bay.
Yeah, with all the displays.
Just there to crash and kill people. The thing should have been no rooms, right? It should have been so mothbally. But they built multiple, they even fall through levels. They built multiple decks with the full corridors accurately. So it doesn't feel like they would built that. It's a lot of wasted time.
It would have been nice to see the bridge and just have consoles missing and stuff like they did. Just had what they needed. Because even in sickbay they had monitors which were displaying Federation Federation computer style graphics. So they really went all out. And yes, if I do like when they looked in the lockers and there was no EV suits, there were parts of ones. But I said in our review that if the ship got destroyed, yes, you would find parts of EV suits in the wreckage and make it look more authentic that way, whatever. But it just...
Well, yeah, a lack of something is partially proof. If you're meant to have 500 people aboard and there's no bodies, well, then there's something's wrong. So you need to create the evidence, right? But building it's definitely a weird one. If it has been nicked, well, I mean, this first picture, obviously, there are significant pieces to the hull they've not assembled yet. It's clearly still work in progress, far more than the later shots imply. I guess they finish it a lot that day. They have to. But that implies it's being built. The thing that annoyed me about this compared to other scenes, first of all, you can't tell what the hell's going on. It's too dark. It's not composited well, right? It's just, you can't tell. But I do see on the right grilling between the hull and the hull. I was so excited if this was going to be the Discovery Alpha variant from the trailer, because I can see the grilling that was in between the layers. If the saucer had been roughly that saucer, that would have been such a beautiful homage to themselves as a, look, they built a really kind of naff ship. Look, it's the Discovery Alpha. Ha ha. That, I think, could have been really kind of fun. Because all they do is fill that whole space in and boom, it's right. That's kind of what you need to do technically. That goes away when they finish the ship. But it's an odd one. The next shot, of course, it's flying through. And clearly, visibly, that's just the Discovery saucer, right? All the secondary hull space, or primary saucer space, sorry, which of course is just there to let it spin and to have corridors. There's no practical reason. Why would they make a choice of building negative space into this? Why wouldn't they just fill it in? These Klingons, wouldn't that save so much effort and hull? I mean, if it's all solid, there's less hull you need to create two outer side with protective hull armor plates. Just fill it in, and then you got one big giant open giant space.
It does look okay. I really do like the design. You can see the definite Discovery saucer, though. Going to the next picture with the pontoons and stuff, I like the full configuration of this thing. On the view screen, you see it like from the front for a second, and you see like the deflector up front and on top, and it looks like a Kit Bash TOS design, and I think that's fucking great. That's awesome. That's the way you want to do it. Yes, please.
Yeah, this view is actually pretty sweet. We've talked all about the technicality of the design and calling it Crossfield is very ballsy. But this really, I mean, it's basically a Miranda Crossfield. Underslung themselves with a pod that's a deflector. Like, I just wish they'd filled in the negative space with those grates from the Discovery Alpha. Then it would have been the most kitbashy yet thought through kitbash. I think it really kind of works, actually.
If you go to the next picture with the three shot, I love the struts. I love the pod up front and the deflector there. It's like when people do a TOS version of the Miranda and they put the deflector up there on a pod. It's like, yes, this is actually really nice. It's a cool design, and I'm quite happy with it, honestly.
I'm assuming they are literally just the Enterprise nacelles and pylons shifted. I think they're a little bit fatter. I think I might have pulled it this way a little bit. But no, it's very flat, but it gives me NX vibes too, just like a reversed NX. There's a certain working here. Yeah, and the deflector is great. I mean, you don't have to overthink a TOS deflector. It's a giant ass dish shoved somewhere. That's kind of the charm, right? This has that charm in spades, actually.
I think this is much better design than the Farragut was for last season or last episode. The curved struts on the Farragut really bugged me, but
this is more intentional. I'm thinking the impulse engines are in those pontoons, because on the bottom one you can kind of see some red, which works for me. It's just weird to have a Discovery saucer. It's weird.
Looks like the front of the pontoons might be shuttle bay doors, but then you get the next shot and you can see the just grills, like intakes or something. Yeah. There wouldn't be a door, but that would make sense to have two shuttle pod like bays there.
Or just torpedo launchers.
Yeah.
Low slung mini pontoons. Yeah, so this obviously shot shows the Discovery saucer into a T. It's got a giant ball, which of course originally it was all meant to separate and do fancy things that Brian Fuller intended. That's why there are only hallways. I mean, all the intentions of the ship were all gone from its design to its showing in the show. But I mean, this you could be forgiven to think that's just the Discovery with different nacelles, right? Like, it is just verbatim. Although not as coppery, actually.
No, it's not. It's got the grey vibe of the Enterprise.
Which works better.
Yes. Go figure. It would be even better if it was white.
Oh, that's close. Where's dirty? It was white. Next shot, though, yeah, really, I'm glad I caught these, because, yeah, you can see those bottom details are nothing.
Yep.
Right? Cool. And that's fine. Like, they work. But then, I mean, I'm better than that than being just giant glows, right? But, yeah, you can see them. The next shot, though, is just to elaborate on the fact that, look, Stuart, it's a Discovery saucer. They shoved on other stuff. Yes, it is.
I have no problem with this. I kind of like that it's called the Crossfield. I kind of like that maybe Starfleet's retconning the what the Crossfield was, either to hide the fact that Discovery and the Glenn existed, or like you said, this is the actual Crossfield design that the Discovery and stuff was based on. But they had to add extra parts and change the Discovery for the Spore Drive. So
yeah, we're into a very large chicken, egg, chicken, egg before chicken before egg. I mean, yeah, it would make sense they would have started building other Crossfield classes. It's odd to think they could grab a saucer from anybody, because saucers aren't warp capable. And there's no spore tech anywhere in them. but also these are third-party non-KDF Klingons. Why would they choose to build from scratch a Crossfield source which they barely have scans of, let alone anything else?
Here's the thing. There was just the war that was several months long. There had been a lot of wrecked Federation ships in or near Klingon territory. I wish they would have explained that some of these parts were cobbled together from different Federation ships, because that would solve a lot of the problems that we had with it. And it would explain how they got a transponder and stuff as well. Like
this Klingon cap. Well, but we don't really get to meet the renegade Klingons in any meaningful way to get a sense of. They're just there to hand-to-hand fight, right?
Although the female reminded me of, like, Lursa or Baitor.
Yeah. She has a slime to her.
Yeah. I thought they were going to make a reference to her being related to them or something.
There's even a look she gives. It was very of them. Yeah, because it's I mean, you can see there's no registry, right? Now I'm comparing them. There should be registry on the bottom of the saucer. There's no white text. But there was a registry on the side of the nacelles, and you can read it in one of the shots. It's like 1268, same as one of the displays. So it is. They've sort of named and placed it. So it is near the Discovery-esque build, but I mean they're just Strange Worlds Discovery Enterprise nacelles. There's nothing special there, right? Which of course are shared by other variants at this time. So you can just get them, I guess. Yeah, very interesting, Stuart. I liked it in the show. I kind of wish they had a few more shots of it that were clearer. Actually, I wish they closed them in native space. That would have been superb with the Discovery Alpha details. Maybe add some, change the ball, something else. That would have been, because the saucer itself is an okay shape, right? It's a bit too thin, but that's okay. I would have made 3 more tweaks, and it would have been a fully, there we go. There's a ship. But hey, it's not a Farragut. It's not a Saladin. It's not a not Saladin. It's because they have their Saladins, and no, I like it. Overall.
Yeah. And there's a pretty good shot too when it explodes. You see the saucer, like, and you can see the saucer a lot better. But yeah. I hope we see more of it, honestly. This would be a good one to add to the fleet for Strange New Worlds. But anyhow.
Just explain the logic behind the Crossfield-ness.
They won't. They're not going to explain any of what we talked about.
But do you think, is there any chance, Stuart, that they actually made this as a little reference to, they clearly apologized to the Klingons by showing Klingons, and they're great. Is this them saying sorry about Discovery by shooting the Crossfield? Because what, you know what I mean? Like, it was a fake Starfleet ship, Stuart, that doesn't look right, and we're going to destroy it to save everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, any ship name, class, and they destroyed the Crossfield as a fake ship. I mean, that feels super symbolic as to we're sorry about Discovery, we're going to destroy the Crossfield. Why? You know what I mean? It's so randomly on purpose.
I know what you mean.
Especially seeing the giant fleet at the start. They're all quite nice, and the space that we like, and the D7 that's great, and the Klingon armors that's great. It's yeah. Who's to say, Stuart? Who's to say?
Well, see, I'm looking at the picture of the Enterprise, the exploding Crossfield, and like the D7 all in the same shot, and that's like exactly what you were talking about there. It's like pretty great. So, yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
More to about this week, though, Stuart. Look out for other videos on other topics, including, of course, the Klingons, multiple videos, and other bits and bobs as well. But how, Stuart, can they support what we do here on Trekyards?
They can leave a super thanks on this video, or they can super chat on any live that we do. Please come join us for those. You can join the fleet and have your name at the end of the video flying in the fleet. You can be assigned to a ship and hang out with us on Patreon the same way, or by hitting that join button down below. You could also like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. What's wrong? Lots of ways to support us and help us out, and just join us on a regular basis, because we do like doing a lot of videos. So just saying, come back and join the Trekyards love.
Of course, the free way. Just like, subscribe to everything we do. Join back and watch any of the videos. Subscribe. Click the subscribe button. Make sure it's clicked, the bell, etc. Just keep tuning in. It's important.
That's right. So until next time, he is Commander Calkins.
He's got a Foley. Bye, guys.
Catch you later.